Welcome back to the Start, Build and Grow podcast. If this is your first time here, I'm Archie MacRae, Director of Nightingweb. This is a show where we talk with real business owners here in the north of Scotland and dig into the lessons that they've learned from actually doing the work. Today, I'm joined by Lynn from Love & Co Weddings. She runs events that bring together suppliers, venues and couples all across the north, helping businesses in the wedding industry connect and grow. What I like about this one is Lynn is not just an event organiser, she's got that entrepreneurial mindset. She spots gaps and creates opportunities. So we're going to get into how she started and how she built a name for herself and what it really takes to grow a business built around people. Lynn, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Archie, for having me. I'm excited to enjoy my first appearance on a podcast.
Absolutely. Let's get straight into it. So you've been doing this for a while now. What made you start Love & Co, your events business, in the first place?
So Love & Co didn't just appear overnight. For me, I left the wedding industry just over 7 years ago. And I've obviously worked in various jobs and roles since. But for me, I knew I wanted to work for myself again. I knew I wanted to do something that was a business for me. And obviously my daughter's now a little bit older. This was the perfect time to kind of look at options. But for me, the reason that Love & Co has been created is basically having a conversation with somebody, Janet Donnelly in the wedding industry, who used to attend my events. And she was like, one of the things she said to me was, we really miss your wedding shows. And it really stuck with me that I was like, people actually miss something that I used to run and organise. So I kind of sat with it and thought, well, how can I make this a business? I obviously missed the wedding industry, but for me, it was trying to create a business that I can basically work on every day. So literally, I sat and reflected on my time in the wedding industry. So obviously, I used to run my own wedding shop. And alongside that, I ran the Murray Wedding Exhibition. So I was trying to look at the things that I would have loved to have had when I started my business at the age of 22. So basically, Love & Co Weddings has been created around everything that I would have loved to have had as a wedding professional. And also as a bride. I got married during that time. So for me, looking at it is both angles, both from a wedding professional and also a bride. What can I offer couples and wedding professionals in the north of Scotland? So that's basically where the Love & Co story has begun.
Got you. Yeah. So it's almost like you've created this business to target essentially your younger self. And it's something you would have loved to have attended to and go to.
Yeah, so I think for me, that's basically what it's kind of evolved and will evolve around. I obviously understand that the industry might have changed slightly since I was in it. But I think for me, it's all about creating something that is needed in the industry. I think having spoken to wedding professionals in the north of Scotland, it's something that is required and needed. So for me, if I can bring that all together in one place, that would obviously is something that excites me because that's something I would have loved to have had when I was a wedding professional. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah, I think we're good at targeting our younger self, especially in business.
Yeah, I think it's great to have taken time away from the business to then come back with a different outlook. I think it's great as well. So for me, it's looking, I've learned a lot. I've worked in various different businesses. So I think having that time away from the industry and coming back with a fresh pair of eyes, I think it's great that I can kind of go, well, I probably would never have created what I want to create now had I still stayed in the industry. Because I always kind of say, where would I be now if I had still kept my two businesses? But actually, I don't think I'd be coming back with the same vision that I have now. So it's great to have taken that time away, worked in other roles to then come back with something new.
Yeah, new ideas and new thing to bring to the scene.
New and exciting. So I think I think sometimes you have to look back at things you've done in the past and also look at what you did well at and what you maybe didn't do so well at, and then that's what can help you create what you want to create now.
Definitely, yeah. So when you were first starting out, Love & Co Weddings, how many events that you've done now? Is it 1, 2?
Just one. Obviously, my one
now.
wedding show I've obviously launched back in September. So yeah, just the one big event.
So when starting out, what part of it scared you the most for starting that event?
I think it's hard because I was coming back to an industry I've worked in previously. So I think what scared me was what happens if I come back and it doesn't work or it fails, because for me, I knew a lot of people still in the industry, so I had a lot of pressure on me to make sure I came back with a great event or a great business that people seen before. So I think it put a lot of pressure on me not to fail.
Got it.
And yeah, I think that was one of the hardest parts about returning to an industry, and it's been accepted back into that industry. But obviously for me, I have been really blessed in the fact that there's a lot of people still in the industry who are supporting my business returning, which is absolutely great. So I have to be thankful that there's people that still support me that
Definitely.
could see that what I'm bringing back, I'll do a good job at, because they saw that previously when I ran the events.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of where like personal branding comes from. You know, if you put your name to one thing and then you do a good job of it, then the next thing you put your name to, people are going to be like, that's going to be good, because they associate that business now with you.
Yeah, I think I am blessed in the fact that I'm returning to the industry in the same area. So it's not like I'm returning or even to a different industry where people maybe didn't know what I did. But because I'm returning to the same industry, I think that really helps that people recognised my name instantly. You know, when people say, "Oh, it's you that's coming back with the wedding shows," it's great. So I think that really helped. That really helps me, and as you say, that personal brand of people realising who I am and coming back into the industry is really helpful.
Yeah. Have you always seen yourself as entrepreneurial, or would you say that's something that's came sort of later in life?
I would never ever have said like, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur."
Okay.
But I think when I reflect back, I look at, I had my own charity at the age of 19, set that up, literally from no knowledge, no nothing. And again, then I set my first business up at the age of 22, having no knowledge in business, and then being asked by a fellow wedding professional to take over her wedding exhibition. Now only as I've got older can I actually see that person must have seen something in me, because why me? Like, I hadn't attended a lot of her events, but she must have, when she approached me, she must have seen something in me to think, oh, Lynn will do a good job of taking over and running an event that she had established. So I think only now, as I am older and looking back, I think there is an entrepreneurial side of me that I probably never thought I did. I think having sold my businesses, over 7 years ago, you always kind of think, oh, I wasn't a business person, or I don't deserve to be a business person. But actually, it was personal circumstances that basically made me sell my businesses. So when I think now, I think I've always been in jobs ever since, and kind of had that whole, I want to do something for myself. I've always had that in my head, where I've always got ideas for businesses, or, even in the jobs and roles I've worked in, I've always seen ways that they can grow and develop their products or their businesses. So for me, I think it's probably, I do have an entrepreneurial side, but I would never ever have thought it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when did it click for you that this wasn't just another event, that you were building something with real potential?
I think for me, I knew when obviously I had that conversation with Janet Donnelly, I think I knew that I had to bring the wedding show back. But for me, it was like, how can I bring it back to be more than an event and to be more a business? And I think for me, it was really sitting down and, as I say, thinking about the things that I would have loved to have in business. And one of the key things for me was community. So when I used to attend wedding exhibitions, I quite often was there by myself. So I didn't get the chance to network with other exhibitors. But had I had more of a community, I think I would have really benefited from that. So for me, it's like the key of creating an event that allows the wedding professionals to have a platform to access new leads. But for me, it's about creating more than that. It's about creating a community for wedding professionals to have an all year round platform to advertise their business to couples, engaged couples in the northeast of Scotland. So I think there was just that moment, I knew straight away. It didn't take me long. I literally spoke to Janet. I think I literally set up my first wedding show maybe 2 weeks after that. So I was pretty quick at having that conversation with her. But once I'd set up the wedding show, I thought, this is great, but how can I then build a bigger business? So obviously having those conversations with exhibitors, quite often over the phone, potential exhibitors, it was finding out what people were looking for and needing. And I think that's when the Love & Co Weddings brand idea started to evolve.
Yeah. One thing that I'd say is lots of people talk about supporting local businesses, but you've actually built a business that directly supports local businesses.
Is there a question to that?
No, that was one of those things where you can just like... Yeah.
Okay. Right, say it again and then
It's fine, you can leave it out. Ryan, how are we doing for time?
12 minutes in, mate.
12 minutes in.
I've spoke for 12 minutes.
You spoke for 12
I've not
minutes.
even written, my screen's black. I'm not even, I think it's easier not to actually read off of it.
It is, because it just feels like a conversation.
Yeah, I feel like that's, yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what I'm saying now.
No, I don't. A lot of people underestimate what it takes to run an event. What would you say most people tend to get wrong when trying to run an event?
I mean, for me, I think the thing that can go wrong is if you're not organised. So I think one of my key things to say, to not get it wrong is just to be super organised.
Yeah.
You need to have everything in place, especially like for me, I'm organising an event that, I'm dealing with exhibitors, but I'm also needing to reach out to couples. So organisation is key. So I think one of the things that if you're organising events, it's really key to be an organised person. I'm very good at having lists and making sure I tick everything off, or having plans on the run up to the event. So I think, again, that's always key to have a timeline that you can kind of reflect back and look at. And, not saying that I get it perfect every time, but I give it a good bash.
Yeah.
But I think, the feedback from my exhibitors this time was mainly Lynn's organisational skills were top notch, or, it's one of the best organised exhibitions I've been to. So I think being organised is one of the key...
Key things.
The key things you need to have to be able to run an event successfully.
Well, I've never obviously been to another wedding exhibition. I've been to yours and it was certainly well organised. And I think organisation is something that is required across the board with every business. I think a lot of people, such as likes of Alex or Rosie, will constantly reiterate the fact that you need to prepare for literally everything, like prepare the night before, because then the person who doesn't, you will beat them. Kind of thing.
Yeah. And I totally think you do need to be organised in business. You're wearing 10,000 hats. Like, especially if you're just a sole business owner. Like, so at the moment I am just one person. And again, sometimes I had to kind of explain that to exhibitors, that I am only one person. I'm doing all the roles and all the jobs to make this event successful. So sometimes, it's hard to be doing all those things. And if you're not organised, then, I think that's where people can sometimes struggle in business. But organisation doesn't need to be something really, really fancy. It can be basic things like having lists and ticking it off. It doesn't...
Yeah, it doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
It doesn't need to... It's as simple as like my computer here has like I've got like an admins, I've got socials like on my Google bar. And I think little simple things like that can make life so much easier. Sometimes I just say like it's little simple things that you need to be organised in business, but it can definitely help you.
Yeah, I think... fail to prepare and you prepare to fail kind of thing. Yeah. I think with like technology and stuff, a lot of people have really overcomplicated it, like preparing. They've got like so many different folders and so many different tools and different AI assistants, whereas if you just have a to-do list and just stick to
and
it.
sometimes it's simple. Like I had for the wedding show, I've got a little book that's like a to-do list and I'll literally every day I would just like go down my to-do list, check what I need to do. And not every day I'm going to get through everything on that to-do list. So then I would just like next day rewrite the things I didn't do the day before, and it just gets added each day on that to-do list. And if you kind of structure it in what's most important as well. So I am a very organised person in life. I'm definitely one of those people that has their clothes and colour coordination in my wardrobe. So I think for me, I am quite OCD with organisation, and obviously it's something I can't wait to kind of pass on to the wedding professionals in my network, because I think being organised is so important, especially in the wedding industry when it can be really busy over wedding season. So if a wedding professional has organisation in their life, then hopefully it will make that wedding season a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely, completely agree. So obviously at your business, your wedding exhibition events, it's all businesses that exhibit, and you've worked with quite a few. If one of those was listening to this podcast, for example, right now, what would you tell them, like the best advice you'd give them so they can actually grow and benefit from your event?
I think one of the biggest bits of advice for me is to be themselves. I always believe that, like, if somebody is choosing you to be a part of their wedding, which obviously is like the biggest, usually a wedding for
It's the
somebody,
biggest day of your life.
it's the biggest day of their life. They look at it. So for me, especially like if you are there with them on their wedding day, you're spending the day, like if you're a photographer, a videographer, and you're really around that couple all day, you want to show them who you are. Not everybody will gel with everybody. So I always just say, be yourself, because the right couples will come to you and choose you because of who you are. I always think, just being, chatting with them, even if you know that the wedding date that they've picked, you can't do. I think it's really important for them to still communicate with that, bride, groom or whatever at the event, because you don't know who they might know. We are in an area, Moray, the north of Scotland. Everybody knows everybody. So I always say it's important to attend the event, and you might not get a booking from the event on the day. But what's key is getting your face out there and getting recognised in the area. And I think, just be yourself. That's a really important thing. And literally just go out there and put on that smile and communicate with them.
Definitely, yeah. Be yourself. And I think in business as well, you like the people you like and you don't like the people you don't like. We get on with some people and we don't get on with all people. There does need to kind of be somewhat of a spark in those business relationships. Yeah,
and I think it's important, because if you have that spark with somebody, you're more likely to get something from it, So I think, but I think I used to struggle when I had my bridal shop, that not everybody would come into, my bridal shop and get their dress. And you were always like, oh, but I want every client or every person to come in and want to buy a dress. But actually, you're not always going to have the right dress. You can't have every especially if you're a small bridal shop, you're not going to have every dress to suit everybody. But what I always thought was, you still give them the exact same experience, because again, when they have their bridesmaids or bridal party, they will come back to you when they're looking. So it's always important. I always think, to even if you don't get on with people, give them the best experience, because you don't know who they might tell.
That's it. And even if they don't buy from you, obviously they can then refer and recommend. That goes back to another thing I say quite a lot, is that people will believe literally anyone apart from you about whether or not your product is good.
Yeah, I think it's like I always say, it's like referrals is key. So I have been extremely blessed in coming back into the industry that so many of the wedding suppliers that used to attend my events have gone out and found me new suppliers for my comeback. So for me, that shows something. Like, it shows that if you give somebody a great experience and years later they can still remember that experience, they're going to tell other people about it. So I think, I was really lucky in the fact that there was lots of people that knew that I did a great job back then, and I've come back and they've told other people. So referrals are so important. And I do think we live in an area where it's even more important.
Definitely. I think everyone sort of knows everyone here, so reputation and referrals, because I might not know someone that you know directly, but they might know of you or have heard of you, kind of thing. And if they... That's what I'm saying. Nah.
That part's staying in.
No, it's not. Yeah, may as well. Let's move on to the next question.
Cool.
Sorry. So when it comes to... What is that noise?
It's my thing beeps every time.
Right. When it comes to pricing and profit, how do you balance keeping it fair but still making it worth your time?
So I think for me, obviously I am a business, and a business is all about making profit. But I'm also a person that wants to ensure I people please, is that the word? But like I like to give people value.
Of course.
So obviously I kind of have readjusted things since I hosted my first Love & Co wedding show, and the reason I've kind of readjusted my pricing strategy is to allow, everybody to get something out of the event. So if you're a small business, you can still afford to come. But if you're a business that's been more established and you want to get more out of it, for me, it's like paying that higher price. They're getting a little bit more for their money. They're a bigger business, so they want maybe a bit more exposure. And for me, I've repriced those structures because I sat and I worked out the time that I actually gave the wedding show this time. And I was, really promoting everybody on socials a lot. And actually I thought, I can't do this going forward. It's very time consuming. So I've restructured the pricing model to obviously fit all the exhibitors into pricing so that they can obviously fit into where they can afford, but also obviously for me, I have to make money.
Of course.
So, it's hard because I am somebody that wants to ensure that people are getting the most out of what they pay for, but I've also got to ensure that I'm valuing my time.
Absolutely. And this is your only thing at the minute. You don't have like a part-time job or anything, do you?
No, so at the moment, this is I am growing my business because I have a long-term goal of what I want to create with it. So I'm trying to grow it quite quickly as well. Okay. So for me, it's like, if I go and get a job just now, it's like trying to then say my business takes a little bit of a back step, and I'm like, nah, I need to get out there and get working with wedding professionals, because even just hosting that event, it made me realise that I was like, this is what I want to do. I have missed that side of things, but also seeing what the exhibitors want as well. I'm like, I want to create that business quite quickly.
Definitely. Has there ever been a time something like at an event, I appreciate you've only done one, but has there ever been a time at that event where something just went completely wrong? And what, if there did, what did it teach you?
I mean, I've obviously run these events in the past. I used to do two a year for over 3 years. So obviously things always went wrong. But even coming back to this event, you think, well, I've done lots of these events before, so I must be a professional.
Yeah.
But having taken that time out as well, and coming back, you still find things that you do wrong, or times have changed again, so things are different. When I ran the events previously, social media wasn't such a big thing in videos and stuff like that. So a simple thing like we changed the venue 6 weeks before this event. So
6 weeks?
6 weeks before the event,
Wow.
we changed venue. So you could imagine then lots of things went wrong because I had things scheduled. I had socials prepared. So therefore, a few things went out with the wrong venue, and I had, exhibitors who maybe messaged saying, have you noticed it says the wrong venue? And I was like, oh, but again, they understood I'm only one person running this event. So I think you've just got to remember things do go wrong, but you've got to then reflect after the event and take time and say, right, what was the things that went wrong, and how can we ensure they don't go wrong the next time? So I think anything that you do, you're always going to make mistakes, even in business in general. Things do go wrong, but you just have to realise it happens and then find out a solution for it going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Most people want the applause without paying the price, but events force you to risk first and earn trust second. So you've taken a risk by hosting an event, hoping that people would come to it, but what if no one showed up?
I tell you, I had many a sleepless nights thinking, what if people don't turn up? I mean, I am lucky this time in terms of how things have changed and evolved since business previously. So when I ran the events before, I didn't have any kind of fancy systems, or everything was very much old-fashioned or paper-based. So you never had any idea who was going to turn up to events. So in some ways, I was blessed this time by having a really good system that allowed people to sign up for free tickets. But again, you don't know if those people are going to turn up on the day. You can have 100 people signing up for free tickets, but doesn't mean they're going to turn up on the day. But it's something you've just got to ensure that you are promoting everywhere, trying to get to as many of those engaged couples as you can. But again, it is a risk that anything could happen and people could not turn up. But I think I gave it a good go, ensuring that there was no way that we weren't going to have anybody turn up to the event. I promoted everywhere I could possibly think of promoting. But it's always scary and it's always a risk, but you've just got to tell yourself you're doing as much as you can physically do to ensure those people come through the door.
Yeah. I think marketing, it all comes down really to volume. Like whoever posts the most is pretty much going to win.
Yeah.
And what would you say has been the most like important or the strongest pillar within your marketing? Would it have been your Instagram posts? Would it have been, putting up flyers? What would you say has been giving you the most reach directly?
So interesting. It's a really interesting question in terms of people would probably think social media, get into couples. But actually, when I asked people to sign up for free tickets, I asked them where they heard about the event. And I would say 80% of people find out through posters and flyers.
Really?
So taking the time out to have gone, further afield, travelled, over 40, 50 miles to towns and put up posters or put out flyers in businesses, I think really reap the benefits. Because you kind of think, that's what we did years ago. So you think 7 years on, everybody says social media, but actually really fascinating that the majority of people found out about us through posters,
flyers,
and we obviously had banners around and stuff. So I think you've got to look at different avenues and not always go with what you think it should be. Obviously, we did promote in socials. Our exhibitors, reshared our posts, which is great. It gets to a wider audience. But I think just sometimes traditional standard marketing can help as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people do they forget about it. That they can't just go out and put a poster up. They're like, oh no, I need to get all my social media right. But, it is very interesting what you're saying at the flyers. How many flyers did you put out roughly?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably over 250 flyers, I think, potentially 500.
And do you know roughly how many people came from the flyers?
I don't know I could work out exact numbers, but I've never actually sat and went through every single one. But I would say probably about 80% of people came from, so if we had roughly 130, 140 through the doors those days, you would say, over 100 of them probably
really?
did. I suppose they're, some of them are bridal parties. So obviously 3 or 4 people would have found out through that one person. But even, word of mouth was also a key. That's another one that a lot of people heard from family friends. So again, you don't know if that family friend saw it through a poster or on socials. But it just shows that, these things can still work.
Definitely. Yeah, they definitely do work. On the topic of growth, what's one thing you wish more business owners understood about growth? So when it comes to like growing a business market and this sort of thing.
I think sometimes people overthink it. So they think growth has to be something big. Like it has to be suddenly you're going to grow and you're going to have employees and you're going to have to then do pensions and whatever. And actually growth can be simple. Growth can be, this year I'm doing 1 wedding show, next year I'm doing 2. It can be, just a simple thing that you're just growing that a little bit bigger, and it doesn't have to be massive. It can be simple things. It can be, growing within yourself as well as a business owner. Sometimes just, as you say, taking time out to learn a little bit more about how to market your business, to then be able to reach more leads and stuff. That can be growing it's growing your business, but through yourself, like growing you to be able to grow your business. But I do think a lot of people have that mindset. Growth is
they do,
massive.
Yeah, a lot of people they'll think growth is literally just going to be this big boom. You're going to have 1 million followers, but it's really not. Sometimes
it can be simple, and I think sometimes what I always say in business is taking those little milestones and celebrating them, and actually just looking at your growth in small little sections, and not always looking at it as the bigger picture. Because sometimes even, for me, coming back and just running that first event, that to me was like that first milestone for me to look back and go, well, I've grown, I'm going to grow that to then be something, this time I got 37 exhibitors. Next time I would like 45, 50 exhibitors. To me, that's growth.
Yeah,
but it doesn't have to be suddenly my event is 100 exhibitors and I've got 10 event staff. It's just
it's good to be ambitious, but it's also good to have that sort of realistic approach as well.
Yeah, I think business. It's great to have your strategic kind of plan in business, and where I've obviously got massive plans of where I want Love and Co Ends to go, but for me it's taking those little sections of how I'm growing my business and really reflecting on each milestone.
Yeah. you work with a lot of local like entrepreneurs and business owners. What would you say there's a specific pattern that you see amongst the ones who are successful or the ones who go on to do bigger things?
I think it's really hard. What I see sometimes is, I think it's more the area and the logistics of Murray. Sometimes people are kind of stuck in their ways and a little bit, I don't want to say it, behind, but
They are. It's almost a rural kind of area.
yeah, and
isn't
it is. I suppose that's what it is. We're classed as rural, and I think what I find sometimes, like I've learned a lot, but I've learned a lot from going into the online space and obviously growing and learning and teaching through that space. And I think for me, then coming back and speaking to local businesses here, a lot of them are still stuck where I was 7 years ago. I find it fascinating how many businesses I've spoken to in the wedding industry so far that don't know what a CRM system is. So for me, it's just a simple thing like, I think that's what I want to bring to those wedding professionals is teaching them about other ways to do business that is, will make their life easier, but also just bringing more modern tools to how they can run. I think a lot of businesses are just like, especially in the wedding industry up here, are solo. So, if you've got a photographer, they are only a photographer working by themselves. So without that community that is there, they're not going to necessarily learn and develop unless they're surrounding themselves with like-minded people or people that are one step ahead of them. So I think sometimes it is just getting in amongst that kind of community and showing them what is an offer in the business space.
Yeah, makes sense.
You're like, yeah, whatever, Lynn, you just raveled on about...
Well, kind of, yeah, because I asked a different question.
Oh, did I answer it completely wrong? Oh, well, here. Just thinking that one out.
It's fine. I can ask you again.
Don't ask me again.
I'm going to ask you again. So, Lynn, you've worked with many local entrepreneurs and business people. What pattern do you see amongst those who actually make it in business?
I don't even know how to answer that one.
Well, like successful people, what do you notice amongst them? Do they all wake up at 4 a.m? Do they all go to the gym? Do they all take cold plunges?
I don't know, because haven't really got in amongst them yet.
Fine, we'll get
So
into
leave
the next
that one out.
We'll get into the next one. Don't worry. Right, let's zoom out. If someone listening to this podcast right now was maybe like myself, they're young, they're ambitious, and they wanted to start their own local events. It's actually something I'm thinking of doing. What's the first thing you'd tell them to do? One piece of advice you'd give them?
That's a good question. Starting your events. I'm trying to think back to when I decided I think what's key is to make sure, I suppose it depends what kind of event you're running, but you want to make sure you're targeting the right people to come to your event. Obviously, for me, I was targeting exhibitors. So for me, I needed to ensure that they knew who I was and what I was doing. So I reached out and contacted a lot of them directly by phone. So I think it's great to actually put your message out there of what your event's about and making it very clear to ensure. But I also, again, like I said previously, organisation. Like, I think you need to be organised to run an event. Yeah. Again, it depends what type of event you're doing. If you're running an event for business people, to make sure that you are communicating well with them. You hear that a lot from businesses that'll say, oh, that event wasn't well communicated or didn't, I think for me, I had to ensure all my exhibitors had clear communication and run up to the event, because I think that's important as somebody attending an event. You want to know the what, where, why, when, and it be an easy option. So I think for me, it's about making sure that you are organised.
Yeah. So if you were to give just, say, one sentence to someone, even to me, because I'm obviously away to go and try and start an events business on the side of what I'm doing mainly, what would you say to me? Just in a sentence.
Have a plan.
Have a plan.
Have a really good thought out plan in a timeline. So have a plan of like what you need to do in the run up to that event to make that event be successful. So whether it be, if you a 6-week plan in the run up to the event, with, you know, a daily task or a daily thing to ensure that you're, you know, because there's so much can go into an event like social media, whatever. So I would definitely say have that plan and stick to it, so that you can ensure that you are putting the right information out on the right days in the run up to the event.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. So now what we're going to get onto is the quickfire round. So I'm going to ask you about 5 or 6 questions. Very short. I expect short answers in return.
Short answers?
Short answers. Can't be chatting too long.
I'll try.
Quickfire. It's called that for a reason. So the first one, again, I appreciate you've only done one event, but you have seen other venues and been to other venues. What would be your favourite venue in Moray for hosting events?
So obviously I've only really organised, when I've organised all my wedding shows, they've always been at the Elgin Academy. I think the venue itself is a great venue for hosting events. They've obviously got different spaces that you can hire, but the area that we use, the hall and the canteen area, is a fantastic space. They also have staging, etc. there for if you wanted to, you know, to have like a fashion show, etc. And I think the staff are amazing. Really helpful in the run up to the event and on the day, and it's a shame because I don't think a lot of people know that the venue can be hired, so definitely somewhere that I would recommend if anybody was hosting, you know, a slightly bigger event.
Bigger event, yeah. What about for like smaller events? So like the thing I'm doing, which will maybe be about 15 to 20 people.
So I think there's some great venues around Moray. I've been to various different kind of business things. I've used the Youth Cafe. It's great because you're supporting a local social enterprise, and the food is fantastic.
It certainly is.
home baked cakes and food, etc. I've also been at a event at Greenbrae Seddon, out at just near Holtman.
Holtman, yeah.
Another great venue, and I've hosted a networking event at Threeplands. So I think there's lots of different types of venues that can be used, and it's great that we've got, you know, lots of spaces in Moray that we can use for hosting events.
Yeah. What's the best advice you've ever received in business?
I think the best advice is keep going even when it's tough.
Keep going even when it's tough.
Yeah, I think sometimes we want to give up on the bad days, or when there's moments where we think, we're not doing a great job, and I think it's just keep going. There's always going to be hurdles. It's business.
Yeah.
I think it's sold as a dream, but actually you've got to work hard to get to the end, and you've just got to keep going. I'm at the beginning of my journey, and I know there's some days that I want to give up, and I'm like, nah, I'm doing this for a reason, and you've got to look at the bigger picture. And I think you've just got to remember that one day can be good, but celebrate the days that are better. Yeah,
it makes sense. I think you've got to enjoy the journey, because it's certainly a long journey. You know, a lot of people come into this and think, you know, after a year, I'm going to have a booming business. 9 times out of 10, you won't. It's going to take like 10 times longer than you ever think it's going to take. I think the man who loves the walk will walk further than the man who loves the destination.
Yeah. And I think I've been in business before, and it's funny when you have left business and you come back, you forget about the times that were difficult before. And I had many difficult times when I ran my bridal shop, when I ran the wedding exhibitions, but I always remember the good moments, and I probably wouldn't have come back to business if I really focused on those bad moments. So I think you're always going to have them in every journey of business. In
every journey of life, I think. You know, there's bad moments, yeah.
yeah, that's true, yeah.
Obviously you speak to a lot of business owners. What's the worst piece of advice you've heard people believing or talking about? I
think for me, I've spent a lot of the last, 2 years in the online space, and definitely you're going to make £100,000 months in the first year, and I think like it's being realistic in you're not going to make profits or money straight away. You've got to work hard. Yeah. Even when you work hard at the beginning, it's going to take you a long time to start reaping the benefits. Yeah. So I think the whole story of it's easy to run a business, and this is the freedom you're going to get. This is the story that is, or the pictures that are told, and the stories that are told aren't always realistic.
Yeah, completely agree. I think some of those people that talk about that and sell these like courses and mentorships, I think it's maybe a pyramid scheme. I'd say.
I think that's why sometimes as well, it doesn't work up here. You know, I think people value, and I think people love people for who they are. And I think, like, I know that what I'm creating with my membership type is, for me, it's about ensuring people are happy at the end of the day. And it's not all about, yes, the money's important, but it's actually about the people.
Yeah, completely agree. Tea or coffee?
Well, I'm at coffee in the morning and I do like a green tea in the afternoon. So, yeah, I like both.
Hope without milk.
Yeah, without milk. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going somewhere for, not green tea, because you can have that at home. If you're going somewhere for coffee, where would you go locally?
So when I used to work in one of my previous jobs, I used to get a coffee every week from 19 Crepes on Batchin Street. And I personally loved their coffee, but I also loved the service that you got when you went in every week. You know, the friendly atmosphere and the fact that, you know, the team would ask you, how are you? And how's your little girl? And that to me is important, is going somewhere where you get that service.
They've got a very good cooked breakfast.
Oh, do they?
They certainly do. It's a shame they don't serve it after lunchtime. Not many people do in this area.
Yeah, I've never had I've had their crepes, but I've never had a full cooked breakfast.
It's very good. You get full. It is full plate. Yeah, I think someone needs to start a 24/7 breakfast. Yeah, there'll be a market for it somewhere. Well, I'd be the first customer. Lynn, it's been great to have you on the show. What I really like about what you're doing is you're not just hosting events, you're building a network that helps real businesses grow. Make sure to follow the Start, Build and Grow podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, and we'll be back soon with another local business owner sharing what they've learned and how you can use it to build something that lasts.